And so we can begin with the agenda. I think everyone received.
Yep.
And I grabbed my agenda from last month. Just I usually have it with me, and I took a lot of notes. So I believe there was only myself, Fred, and Mary, and Cassandra here. So
Was that in March, you mean? The
yeah,
last time you met? Okay.
so I'll have to do the meeting minutes unless somebody did them.
No, because I wasn't there.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'll have to write up some meeting minutes and then send them out for March.
Okay.
Okay. So start off with what's on the agenda, which is the affordable housing development sites and general updates. So refreshing everyone's memory, we had looked at two areas in town that had the potential to be sent over to the housing trust and then to see if the property could be developed for affordable housing. One of them is the old Esposito place on 3A and Pond Street, which we looked at extensively, and Susan wanted to take one last look at it, just to make sure something could be built or not be built. I know Fred had a lot of experience with the wetlands over there, and we all felt that it may not be doable. The other property was at the end of Evergreen Street. There might be a couple of properties there, and one of the properties that was there has a conservation restriction on it, so we've already identified that lot earlier on. I didn't have an address for it, but we already identified that. So I attended the Affordable Housing Trust meeting, and I asked Glenn Pratt to join me so we could identify what would be the process to see if the property is buildable or not buildable, or what the initial step would be. So what Glenn felt the way to go is to have this company go out there. They call it flagging the property, where you identify where the wetlands are, and then you would have to do some sort of topographical map, and then to see whether or not there's potential for building. Then the next step would be to spend additional money to actually physically go onto the property and, kind of figure out how much land is actually there that you could build on, I guess, is the process. Does that sound about right, Cassandra? Yeah, okay. So they allocated up to, I think, $2,500 for us to go hire someone to go take a look at the property. So we did do that. And we had kind of initial response back, at least on both properties. He had an aerial view of what to look at. And I'm going to share my screen, I believe. Okay, let's see here. So. Bear with me. I'm going to see if I can X out of everything and figure out where this thing is. I had a. It's here. Go. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and share my screen. Okay. So try and make this bigger for you. And it's this one.
That's Esposito.
Can you guys see this? This is the Esposito lot, yeah. Look, I can move it in, and move it out. So, yeah, if you remember, this lot right here is, one lot is owned by the Conservation Trust. One over here is conservation, somebody else. It could be just a conservation restriction. So we were talking about this meat cleaver in the middle, if you will. All this land in here.
Mhm.
This is where it says upland. This is where the dry land is. This is where the septic system is and where the building is. And that's on this triangle lot. And then this is all dry in here as well as over here. So this is the stream that runs through it that we had talked about. So this particular lot, we could pursue additional investigations to see if you could build something there. You know, is it going to be something worthwhile? Or is it going to be something not worthwhile because of all of these wetland areas that are around here?
Yep.
So that's something that we just have to figure out on this particular property. The general consensus was that several town departments had looked at this property and I town email real quick.
Do you know how large that triangle is, Paul?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. So you could theoretically put a house here. I mean, there's plenty of houses here on 3A. Some of them are right up against 3A as well, you know, so
Yeah.
like this one particularly is right there. That's pretty close. So I'm not sure what you could put here. Certainly you could put something in here, but I don't know if you're allowed to travel through here to get to it. And then this over here, you would be able to maybe go through here and get to it. So I don't know. You know, what you can and can't do if you're surrounded by wetlands. So I don't know. The general consensus was to just kind of let this one go and pursue other areas in town that are not as challenging. Or do we want to pursue this spot here and maybe figure out how do we get here or here? You know, I don't know.
The only
Cassandra-
part that seems feasible to me is that triangle where it says upland. And it looks like it's at least equally as large as the lots across the street, across 3A. So I would think that would be feasible, especially at the south end where it's a little wider.
So this area here is upland as well. And then down here is as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we could get to this property somehow. I don't know how that works. So I don't know, Cassandra, do you have any insight on?
Paul,
If-
just for clarification, the bottom portion there where it says upland, that is on somebody else's property.
Oh.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Huh.
It's a different lot. Okay.
Yeah, because those purple lines are the lot lines.
Okay, here it is. Okay, here it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're only here and here.
And my understanding would be that you're not going to be able to build anything through the wetland in order to get to that inner pocket.
And I think that you're going to have a hard time to get a curb cut from DOT for the front property to get people in and out.
Well, there's already curb cuts there because the Espositos had parking.
Oh, okay. Well,
There is already a curb cut, however, I would recommend that the committee just keep in mind that though some of those other properties do seem close to the lot lines, and that could very well be the case, without doing further research, I don't know when those properties were built, and they could have been before zoning was enacted, and anything built would have to comply with zoning or get a variance.
right.
Yeah, those houses were all built back probably in the, 40s, 50s, 60s. And some of them actually, I think, face Buttonwood Lane.
Yeah.
you're seeing the backside of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if
So-
you kept it down towards the southern end, you could probably fit something in there.
I personally think that lot's just like not worth going after. I really do. I don't know, because you'd be so close to the road, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what size you could possibly put there, and then, what,
Yeah, I mean, you got that little, like, almost looks like a little mini pond there, and you got,
the property does drop right here because that's
Yeah.
where the landscaping stuff
Yeah.
was.
yeah, yeah, it got
Mm.
low, like where she had all her benches with all the plants and stuff. you
Right,
know,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm kind of in favor of kind of letting this one go.
Yeah.
Only because of there's so much wetlands that are surrounding this, and then the sewer department spent $3,000 or $3 million on something over here on some water. I don't know if it was a diversion or what it was. And the town is also, I don't know if they have followed through with it yet, but they're trading some of this property for the cell tower down at Wheelwright. Is that right, Cassandra?
That is my understanding. I don't know the status of that as I haven't been involved with the project.
So I would, it would be an uphill battle for us to take this triangle lot, go to town meeting and get this lot turned over to the housing trust. And then the housing trust would then have to go up for bid to see if a contractor would buy this. And it would be purchased with the deed restriction for 30 years as an affordable lot. So all of that would be challenging, I would think, for two reasons. One is because of all of these wetland areas, and I've already gotten pushback from, some folks on the water department or former water department people. There's also, I don't know what other river runs under here. I know this isn't a stream that's here, but there's something else. And Fred kind of disclosed all of that to us before. So my leaning is kind of walking away from this one and focusing on the other land that doesn't have as many challenges. But it's up to the board. So if you want to,
I agree. I agree. Walk away. I don't think it's worth pursuing.
yeah, I can.
As you said, so many people, so many other boards in town have looked at it for their purposes, and the conservation people have already essentially taken big chunks out of it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people.
The rest of it probably needs to be in conservation too. Plus, it's probably something that they're considering as part of the watershed to the reservoir.
Well, that's the biggest point that I received. Let me. So, can you see this email?
No.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
an
So
email,
you still see the picture of the property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
Well, I'm content with that decision.
so yes, so the 3A site, they feel is no for many reasons. Foremost, it's on top of a major tributary to the Lily Pond. So there's a river under it that feeds Lily Pond. Even considering it, seems to me that the various town departments and boards and committees are all not on the same page for a plan for this property. He said between 2004 and 2010, the water department took the lead to acquire nearly 400 acres across the street at a cost of $3 million for the protection of the water supply.
yeah.
Okay.
I think its highest and best use is as conservation land with, for the reservoir as well as open space.
Okay, so
So we'll let it go.
Yep. I think it was, good the town got it and keep it keep it undeveloped.
Okay, so let me, stop sharing my screen. Okay. So, do we want to make a motion? Let that, is it 575 CJC? I'm sorry, no, it's 3A, I'm sorry. Do you have an address for that property at all? Cassandra? Or should we just call it the Esposito?
I don't remember the exact
Okay.
number. It is on CJC. I think it's
No, no.
585.
No, this is 585 3A?
CJC.
CJC, yeah, 585, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's the number. But if you're gonna make a motion, I would recommend, just to be safe, to clarify, like, no,
two
the
Espositos.
Esposito property.
So, I'd like to make a motion. And we can take a vote, to not pursue, further any review of the property for the purpose of affordable housing at 585 CJC, the Esposito lot, in which there are 2 lots that we've reviewed. And recommend that we refer it to the town to put into some sort of conservation trust. So it doesn't need to come up again in the future with other committees.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Since I was the one who had suggested we review it.
Oh, no problem.
feel like-
We'll do a roll call vote. So Susan,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Mary,
Hi.
Fred?
Hmm.
I can see your lips move even though you're on mute.
Aye.
Thank you, Fred. Paul Kearse, aye. So it's unanimous. So we'll walk away from this particular property and then we'll work with Cassandra to see about somehow putting this into some conservation trust. That way there that it comes off of the books as, you know, an open lot in the town, that it actually has some sort of restriction to it of some sort. You know, maybe the other thing we would have to do is, we would have to go to the Board of Health, to talk to them about decommissioning the septic system that's there and, demising the building that's there. And then, you know, maybe they want to put in a parking lot of some sort. I don't. We have public comment from Carol.
Yes, I've talked about this with some folks, including someone from Open Space, because of where I am, where they are. And, you know, they have notions of what's going to happen there too. So there should be some communication. They talk about a community garden, even though it seems too soggy. So there are other folks discussing this land. So perhaps there should be another forum where folks talk about it, or Open Space meeting is meeting in 2 hours. Maybe someone goes over there if you're up for it. Also, you don't have to decommission a septic system.
So it does need to be,
It's
yeah.
empty.
Yeah. Well, especially if it's on the wetlands over there, you can't leave it.
No, yes, you can. There's nothing happening. If no one's flushing a toilet, no one's flushing a toilet. There's nothing going on.
Okay.
Which I only know because I worked at a firm that specialized in septic alternatives. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. So that open space committee, Cassandra, is that a regular standing committee? Is it open space and?
Open Space and Recreation Committee, yes.
And
they're
rec, yeah, okay, open
regular
space.
committee.
I thought rec was in on that, yep. Okay, terrific. The other place, I'm waiting on the same type of sketch from from them on that, the property at the end of Evergreen. I did get some phone calls from some of the residents. People thought that we were building low-income housing up there, Section 8. I said, no, that's not the case. We were just looking at the property to see if a regular size house would be something that could be put up there. So to see, I got an email about it, and there were some questions about how far down and around Evergreen do we want them to look at, because then it abuts the Osgood School. So I just have to determine with Glenn if how far that property goes around or doesn't go around. So I should have some answers hopefully before the next meeting, definitely, but hopefully by next week. I can find out what he wants to do there. They initially took a look at it, and they had some questions for us, so I just have to get back to them. So that's those two sites we talked about. The other site, I think we've all saw the fence up around the gas station in the village. So Cassandra, any word, any movement over there?
I know that he has fenced it off. I don't know what his plans are for either taking down the present structure or reconstructing something new. I haven't spoken with him since he requested to extend the permit. I don't know if that is still his intent to extend that permit or not.
Terrific, thank you. That is at 53?
The address is 55 South Main Street.
55 South Main, Beth. 55 South. Yep. Okay, let me take a look at any other updates. I know that we'll get to the 808 Jerusalem under the subcommittee updates.
Yep.
And then Cassandra, we'll move on to the update on 1 Pleasant Street.
Sure, we can do that. So the 1 Pleasant Street condos, there are 4 condos. There are 2 1-bedroom and 2 2-bedroom. They are up for applications for the lottery right now through the lottery agent is Mahoney Properties. So folks can apply to then get a spot in the lottery and see if they get the lucky lottery ticket.
And those are up, all those units are up for sale, they're condominiums.
Correct, they are condos, so they are for sale.
So do you know if any of the 14 units have sold yet?
I do not have an update on the
There's
market
a
rates.
couple under agreement.
Okay.
But I haven't seen any close yet.
Okay.
They've dropped the prices a couple of times already.
Okay.
So I don't think people are beating down the door for them.
Yeah, yeah. All righty. That's good news on the affordable side of it, though. So at least somebody can get a condo. That's good. And these are deed restricted for 30 years each. Cassandra, do you know, or?
They are deed restricted. I believe it's 30 years, but or longer. It could be a permanent deed restriction. I'd have to double check the documents.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was usually in perpetuity, but I could be wrong.
That's my understanding as well.
I thought it was forever. You know.
I know there were 2 kinds. If you didn't do forever, it was 30 years. I thought there were 2 types of restrictions. So
Yeah.
just want to confirm it. And no word yet from the property on South Main across from St. Anthony's, Cassandra, on that.
147 South Main, the most recent update that I had was from their lottery agent who was going to be submitting the paperwork to the state for approval. I don't
Okay.
believe they have received that approval as of yet.
Have we been able to take credit for any of that at all?
No, because we won't be able to get any units on the SHI until they've been approved by the state and they have somebody in them.
Okay. Right. Right down the list, my memory here and my notes from last month. Let's see here. So the next update, I guess, would be for Mary on the subcommittee update here on 808 Jerusalem. I know that you had sent some notes out, Mary. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I think I think it makes it easy for cut and copy from minutes, and and if
Yes.
people see the stuff in advance, they may have a chance to, if they have any questions and stuff. But that's pretty much what happened. I met met with Habitat staff last Thursday. Tomorrow's resigned. Joe Sousa is I met with Michael. Ryan was did not attend, but he's also leaving Habitat, and his position has been advertised. Joe was going to expect it to join us on Zoom today, and I realized I forgot to send him the link. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But he didn't reach out to me to ask, so maybe we all forgot. Anyway, he was kind of vague, but he said reported that fundraising and volunteer recruitment are on target. He didn't seem to have any concerns in that regard. One of the two families is not going to go through the process and didn't qualify for one of the criteria. So advertisements are out to recruit a new family. And actually yesterday, I think, was the deadline. But Erin and her son are still anticipating to move in next month.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah, I've been by a few times. I've seen plumbers there and heating people there. I saw National Grid. I saw them digging up what looked like to be some sort of a water line or something like from the street. So they're and then Joe Sousa had told me that he was there helping volunteering to paint last week. So they're getting through things. The construction supervisor, they're advertising for a second person because she feels swamped by kind of all the projects they have, but she's paying Sherry, excuse me, is pretty much paying attention, and I see her truck there all the time. Anyway, there's they expect to have her unit done in mid to late June. They're going to focus on that unit because the other person's going to have to go through the process of selection and application and then qualification and so forth. So they don't anticipate filling 8-10 until August. I asked about celebrations and that kind of thing. They said they'll have a small celebration in June for Erin, and then something larger in August when the project is pretty much completed. I said I would be willing to see if we could get a space at the senior center if we wanted to have like coffee and cookies or punch and whatever just afterwards, so that it's not just whatever and leave the property, but maybe go back and convene and celebrate a bit. I haven't pursued that any further yet, but when they get a better date schedule, then I can check that out if you guys think that's a good idea.
Yeah, so they told us in June, usually on a Thursday, they like to do a ribbon cutting of some sort.
Yeah, yeah.
So we just want to find out when that date is.
Mhm.
And then, we can coordinate with,
Yeah.
the town manager and, the police chief to see if we want to kind of, block one lane or something so we could just get there and get to the property and do that. And then if we want to, depending on what time it is of the day that they do it, we can move to, have lunch somewhere or something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Well,
I like the idea of going back to Wilcott, like you said, though. I think that makes it more open for a lot of people. And when I had talked to Joe, he seemed to think it was not going to be until mid to late June before they would be able to do all that.
Right. And they wanted to keep it small because, at least for June, because of parking and they're still working on the other piece of property. So on the other unit. So, but anyway, it's just a start at exploring what they want to do, and keep following up with them to see where they are. And then I asked about landscaping, and Joe didn't know anything about it. He was going to check on that. I did speak with Susan about donations, which she's been very nicely working on, and I figured I'd see if she could give us any updates.
Okay. Yeah, if you could have the gentleman who's now in the new person, because
Yep.
we had a new guy, and now the new guy left. We have another new guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I received a number of concerns or complaints about the inability of Habitat to communicate back to the folks who have volunteered to come in and do things on site.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. So there seems to be a disconnect that maybe we could discuss with them.
Yeah. Even
Well,
my
I-
husband had difficulty, you know, he had volunteered, reached out and never heard back from Mike Ryan. So I don't know do they have a person in place now?
Well, I asked, Richard told me that David Bigley and wanted to have a group from his church come and wanted to change the date. It was supposed to be the 31st of this month, and then he wanted to push it back to the 30th. I asked Joe about that, and he said to have David call him. So I need to get in touch with with David and make sure that he can call Joe. Joe seems to be willing to get on top of things and do what he's got to do to make this stuff work. So I will I'll follow up on the David Bigley stuff. And Paul, if you want to send me or a list of people who I need to touch base with, I'm happy to do that and put them in touch with Joe.
Okay.
Again, I'm really sorry he's not here. I thought about a couple of times about giving him the link, and I forgot. And but I'm surprised he didn't ask me about it too. But anyway, we missed him today, and that's too bad. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. All right, does anybody have
Do
anything
you want
else?
me to share anything about the landscaping?
Yeah, please.
I was just gonna say that I did also talk to Joe, I think it was probably the week before you did, Mary, and just wanted to introduce myself and so on. And he told me that the budget for what they allocate for the exterior is $5,000, and that includes grading and a lot of other aspects, not just trees and shrubs. And I had requested $2,000 from the Community Garden Club. They did not go for that amount. They did allocate 500. So I think that is being sent over, which would apply, to the 5,000. And I have been playing phone tag with Chris Kennedy at Kennedy's Country Gardens to see if they might still, from our conversation that we'd had probably a year ago, be willing to offer some plants, shrubs, and ground cover at cost. Mary, one of your suggestions about the just ground cover for the whole thing, it sounds like it's a good idea from the standpoint of not wanting to have a lawnmower and where to store it and all that. But on the other hand, when you just have ground cover, it starts getting weeds, and they're not going to want to be running out there and doing all the weeding. It's easier to do a little bit of mowing. So I don't know. At this point, I have a call in again to Chris, an email I sent to him this morning, I guess it was, to see what his thoughts are. And, they'll proceed with that. Nothing is really going to happen on that until after the project is completed.
Yeah.
And I did go over there and take a look, and I was really pleased to see that the 4 vanities and sinks, they didn't have the sinks installed yet because they're still working on things, but the 4 vanities and the sinks and the tops that I'd gotten Hingham Lumber to donate had been installed, and they look great. They're really nice quality. So I'm really pleased that they're not just some shabby, cheap material that they put in. They look really good. So I'm happy with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's terrific.
Thank you.
Didn't you
That's
think
good.
that they look good, Mary?
I haven't been in. I haven't been inside.
Oh, okay. I thought you went inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look really good. Okay, so that's all I know right now. If I know more from Chris or anything on timing, I will let you know the next meeting or in an email.
A thought I had was, and I told both Joe and Susan about this, was when I was I did the rec fair a couple weeks ago, and there was not a lot. There were a few families that came up and said, oh, they really wanted to volunteer with their kids and so forth. And I said, we really don't have anything for under 18. But I was thinking that maybe we could have like a Saturday morning for like an hour and a half, like 8:30 to 10, and have some family, and have it all outside, not worried about dangerous equipment and so forth, but just have some families come in and maybe, plant a couple of flowers and plants or stuff here and there for the project, so that there's some ownership of, a family driving by, oh, those are the flowers we planted and so forth. And it, to have a more youthful volunteer opportunity, if it makes sense. Anyway, I mentioned it to Joe. It's just an idea. See if it goes anywhere.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea because, the kids can get together, the family can donate the materials they need to
Yeah.
put a plant together, and then we can, drive it down to the property and have them plant the tree. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great idea. Yeah,
Mm.
that's awesome.
I don't know if there's a landscape plan for the property. But and that was one of the questions I was going to have for Joe today, so I will check in with him about that. But if they have landscape plan already, then that's already been done and paid for. So
Okay. Terrific. Can't think of anything else. I don't know if they had their annual fundraiser. Usually I get a card in the mail.
I think they had to postpone it. If I I didn't see it in my notes, but I thought that was mentioned. Maybe Tamar mentioned it before she left. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought there was something different about it this year, so.
Well,
I
they have a
suspect.
new director as well, so there's a lot of, and the new project manager. I mean, they've just got so many people who have left with
Yeah.
new ones coming in and some still being recruited or searched for or whatever.
Mm.
So it's just been a lot of turnover.
Turnover, yeah.
I met the project manager guy. He seemed I forget his name. I have a card somewhere. He seemed very nice and eager for us to help with anything that, comes up. And again, Joe was very, very excited that we were willing to support and so forth.
Oh, terrific. All right, does anybody have anything else? Okay, let's see. So items not anticipated, that's on here. The March 18th meeting minutes, I will get those out so we can vote on those the next meeting. And then our next meeting we have down for June 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can hear from Habitat if they're going to do a ribbon cutting or some sort the following week, which would be like Thursday the 26th or something like that. So that would
Okay.
be at the last Thursday in June.
Yep.
But we can, give me an idea of what's happening there. And
Yeah,
then,
I'll keep it. I'll keep in touch.
Significance of Thursday?
Tamara mentioned they do them on Thursdays.
They do the openings, the grand opening kind of. Okay.
They don't work on Fridays. So I think it's usually at the end of the week.
Okay, thanks.
But it could be on a Monday for all I know.
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens. So
Yeah.
all right, terrific. So certainly appreciate
Just one thing before you go. Paul?
yes, sir.
Hey, Fred.
There's just it's kind of late news, but the executive director got recruited at the Housing Authority. So she's going to be leaving and they're going to be posting her job as soon as they get approval from the state.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Oh,
that's
good.
coming up, yeah. So she didn't intend to leave, but where she used to work and started recruited her, and it's a much shorter drive for her. And
Okay.
so just if you know anybody interested, it should be advertised probably within a month.
So who runs that? Would the town hall post that on would HR at our town, or is that state?
Well, I think the state approval and I think it gets advertised somehow and I'll find out. I can try to get the information for the next meeting.
It's a state position though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know at one point you shared director there with one of the other towns and
With Norwell.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Situate's apparently hiring also, so they got in touch with us to see if we wanted to be involved with that. So I don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, Taffy's retired now, right, from the board.
yeah, she's off, and Jet Jackson got elected. Yeah. I don't think Taffy wants to take on a
Yeah, I asked her what she was going to
big
do at
headache,
the time,
Yeah. Okay, that's all.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for letting us know. I'll mention it to the folks because we're certainly we've gotten a lot of resumes from folks for the different areas and elder affairs. So
Yeah,
there may be some applicable
good.
candidates there,
Yeah,
So, they've gotten, 15 or 20 of them over the last few weeks or so. So certainly I'll let her know.
great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And of course, Memorial Day weekend coming up.
Yep.
Hope to see everybody out there.
Poppy
Folks-
Drive.
Poppy Drive. So I would, I'm asking people to actually, donate a little bit more at the Poppy Drive this year because this is the, what most people don't realize is this is the 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon on April 30th, 1975, which was deemed the end of the Vietnam War. So 50 years ago, it technically ended. So we had about 300 residents go off to the Vietnam War, and 8 of them did not come back. So
Yep.
this will be a special year. I know Rich, Mary's husband, is the commander for the VFW, which is the Veterans of Foreign War, which is different than American Legion.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure Rich will be giving his speech about the 50-year anniversary. And I don't know what Phil's plan is, but I'm sure
It's a great day.
Yeah.
It fills my heart, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I do. I do love it.
A lot of sacrifices.
Yeah, it is.
Not just the guys who went off and women who went off, but all the families.
Oh, yeah. So I think they were sprucing up the monument this week. I know that they were moving to add another plaque in there somewhere. They were going to try and get it done beforehand.
Yeah.
But so it would be. Hopefully we get good weather. We get a nor'easter coming Thursday night into Friday, and then cloudy and overcast. So
It's gonna suck us for the puppies. It's gonna be a
But
mess.
Monday looks better, I think, doesn't it?
poppy away. Yeah. So
Well,
at least
look, puppies are over Sunday, so
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
did
know.
I stood outside Curtis for a long time doing the poppies 1 year. So
yeah.
it seems to be the hot spot. But
Oh yeah, we get a lot from them.
But isn't Monday the
Memorial Day, that's the day of the parade.
that's the parade and the speeches and
Yeah, so
stuff.
the Poppy Drive is the VFW. They sit outside of Shaw's this year and outside of Curtis Liquor.
Curtis, and I think maybe Obersham. Joe's trying to do that. We'll see.
Okay, yeah, and they have the poppies. As you know, they read the poem every year about the poppy fields.
Yeah.
And so that money goes to the VFW, and then they have a collective donation where they gather them all and then they do scholarships.
Scholarships. They do. They buy turkeys for veterans at I think Thanksgiving, and if somebody if there's a need during the year, they have some cash on hand to help people veterans that are needed. So people are wonderful about donating, and it's funny to see the dynamic of some people kind of put their head down and walk by you, and other people come over. Oh, this is great. So I like doing it. So it's great. And Beth's helping us this year. Thank you.
Yep, I get Curtis. I like
Yeah.
it. I did it last year too. It's a happy place.
Yep.
We all enjoy, Yeah.
Listen, just talking from experience now. What you want to do is you want to walk into Curtis about every 30 minutes and check the samplers.
I'll be good till the end. Then I'll work in the Curtis.
So there's always somebody on Memorial Day weekend, inside there. Hey, would you like to try? Would you like to try?
Oh, okay.
Then you'll be
Yeah.
really happy, Beth.
I know.
Oh,
Well,
I-
I don't want to be promoting poppies with booze on my breath. I'll wait till I'm done.
Yeah. Well, one of our volunteers, her father was in World War II. She brings out, I think, a statue and his medals, and she has a whole display set up on her table because she's
Oh
so
wow.
she's so enthused. So it's fun.
Yeah. My dad was too. He was in the South Pacific. I could bring his Silver Star.
Ah,
There you
good
go.
for you. Anyway,
Yeah,
All
my
right,
dad was
so-
gone for 2.5 years in Europe, and he left. My sister was 6 weeks old. He came back. She was 2.5 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying it's not just the people who go and ship out, but it's all the families and what they sacrifice as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so do have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll
right.
do the minutes, Paul.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll
All
see
right,
you
and
see you
we'll see-
around.
I'll see you on Monday,
Okay,
So you
guys.
said June 17th, is that right? That's
Yep.
good.
June 17th, to the next one. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Take care. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.